All he's trying to get out of you and the people who you follow is support and pity. He wants your pity, okay? I've dealt with this man.
Okay. So right now, can you see me, Tristan, and the blog window?
Not what you see, not yet.
Yeah, it's delayed. Remember that. There's really a delay. What the hell?
Okay, I closed it out and I opened it back up. Now I can.
You can see all me, both windows, and me. Okay. All right, everybody, we're gonna get started on my post. Hey, Roxy, if you want to join me on Twitch, or you can watch me on here. I don't know if you have a laptop, a computer, or a tablet or something. Please feel free to go to Twitch and look up my name. It's Dearden2007. You can watch me on here, watch me on Twitch. I'm about to do a reaction video to my son's video. Hey, where is it? That way, do you have your AirPods or your
I think they're out in the car. Let me go get them.
No, there's my AirPods are in the bedroom or something. Grab those so you don't have to go to the car. That way that the audio from your phone is interacting with the stream. So yeah, we're about to do this interaction. My son made a video not long ago, and everyone's telling me not to worry about what he has to say about me. That I have nothing to prove. I would kindly disagree. There's some serious implied accusations in this video. There's the things that are being said in this video that I can't just sit idly by and not say anything in my defense. I worked very hard in my life to be a good father and to be a good husband to his mother. There are things that are said in this video that, quite frankly, it is not a good. The words in this video are not good. They're not something that I can just idly. Are you getting yours?
Yeah.
I can't just sit idly by and not say or do anything about it. Like I have to respond to this video. There's no ifs, there's no buts, there's no fuss, no muss. This is something I have to. I can't stop thinking about the negative inclinations of the word choices, the words that he's using. I just can't not say anything about it. Like I have to. I literally have to respond to this. This is a big deal. My 16-year-old son, 17-year-old son, is making some outrageous accusations in this, and I cannot just not say something. Like, I have to say something. So we're going to dive into this. This is my blog, by the way. We're going to go to my blog post. I wrote this on the 16th, not long after I seen this. Where are you? I don't know where she went. I have to say something about this. I can't just sit idly by and not respond to this. So we're going to dive into this and we're going to talk. So yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit of this. And we're going to talk about this. And yeah. But I want everybody to know I did my best to provide for him, to provide for his mother. I really did the best that I could. And that's all anybody could ever ask for. Nobody can claim to be perfect parents. Jamie, were you perfect the first time? Jamie, when you had your first child, were you perfect?
What?
When you had your first child, were you perfect? Did you have mistakes along the way?
No, I wasn't perfect. Nobody's perfect.
Exactly. Nobody's perfect. What she said. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and dive into this. We're going to play. All you on TikTok can't hear this, but that's okay because I'm going to upload this stream onto YouTube. So you'll be able to hear it all. Jamie, once again, I'm going to play a little bit. We're going to do a mic check on me and Tristan.
Okay, everybody. So, if anyone on my account is following my father...
What?
Are you talking to me?
Just listen. We're doing a mic check again. No echoes?
Okay, everybody.
No echo?
So, if...
Okay. Now that we got the mic check, everything's clear, we're going to go ahead and dive into this. Alright, so everybody on TikTok, I know you can't hear this, but pretty soon I'm going to read my blog post. Everybody on YouTube's going to hear and see this. Everybody on Twitch is going to hear and see this. So, go ahead and bear with me. I'm going to play part of this. I'm going to react to it. In the end, after you watch me here, I will give you the location to go to watch the full video, okay? So let's dive into this.
Anyone on my account is following my father or...
It's not easy to hear this stuff.
I want you to know this right now. If you've seen his video of me, him explaining to you what happened and me telling him that I no longer want to see him, you don't know the true story behind it. You don't know the true reason why I need to stop seeing him. You don't know the truth. Whatever he's told you is a complete scam and lie. All he's trying to get out of you and the people you follow is support and pity. He wants your pity, okay? I've dealt with this man for 16 fucking years of my life. And still, I hate him. I used to think I knew him. And I don't. I don't know him anymore. Okay.
Alright, so we just heard part one, and I gotta tell you, being almost 40 years old, only having one child, and all that time, I've only helped create one life. I've only had one child. Jamie can attest that parents aren't perfect. You never get it right the first time, and you probably don't get it right the second time. Failure is going to happen. Life is hard. You have to try your best to be your best. You have to try your best to give your best. Now, with that being said, let me just say this. My son, I'm moving the camera a little. We got Jamie bouncing around on the couch over there. My son, in this video, recording this at the time, was 16 years old. Okay? 16. Now, there's a lot of things in his past that I'm not going to bring to light. There's a lot of things that I missed out on his life, and a lot of things that, if I was there, would have never happened. It's not because I didn't want to be there. It's not because I had no interest in being there. It's not because I had no way to be there. Has nothing to do with any of that. What it does have to do with, sorry y'all. Hey, I need you to go get the charger for my phone. It's dying.
What?
We go get the charger for my cell phone. It's on the side of the bed. Sorry y'all. What it does have to do with is, well, we're going to dive into that. But I'm going to let my son say a few things. I'm going to react as I go. But keep in mind, Jamie can attest to this. My mom can attest to this. Everyone that knows me can attest to this. My son and me, throughout the entire life, has always had a bond, and we've grown very close. And Jamie can tell you, my mom can tell you, everyone that knows Tristan and knows me can tell you. I just lost my camera. Sorry, y'all. Charging my phone because I'm loose. And it's going cuckoo for Cocobos over here. Get a closer view of me this way. Everyone that knows me, that knows Tristan, that knows about the life I've tried my best to build for him and me and his mom, was by definition great. Yeah, I'm not perfect. His mother wasn't perfect. In my eyes, she was perfect. But she knows, she knew that she wasn't perfect. But I loved her all the same. Tristan ain't perfect, but I love him all the same. I'm not perfect. I love myself a little bit. The fact is, as a parent, hearing your child talk so negatively about you, it's hard to hear. It's very hard to hear. It's not easy to hear your child say these things. But as the title reads below, you're going to hear some things out of a 16-year-old you would never hear from a 16-year-old's mouth, which is obvious that he's being coached by his ex-mother, by my ex-mother-in-law. He's being coached by his grandma. Not my mom, his mom's mom. But let's keep going.
I no longer know my father, and I don't want to know him. Because I already know what I need to know. And the truth is that he abused me and my mother long before she died. She died when I was 2 in a train wreck. I was in that wreck, and I survived for I don't know how. But know this now, whatever he's told you, whatever you think you know, whatever you think is the truth, is a lie. And I will explain to you all the truth, because I have proof of what he's done to me and my mother. And he's not the good guy, trust me. None of you know him like I have known him. It's...
Alright. Alright, well, we're going to stop the video right there for a few minutes. And this is where he's going to start diving into some serious accusations that I think he's already accused me of abusing him, but yeah. Look, I'm going to read my blog post that I wrote not long ago on the 16th to, 4 days ago? I uploaded this video recently, but it's been on my mind. It's been bothering me. And I need y'all to understand that he's had his grandmother puppeting him, like providing smoke to the illogical fallacy of the things that she's put in his mind. It's called parent alienation. Look it up. It's a real thing. But I'm going to go ahead and read my blog post because I think everybody needs to hear from my truth before we dive any deeper into this, because not only is it hard to hear my son say some of the most illogical, false, irrelevant, unfactual, undocumented, unproven statements that nothing could be further from the truth than the words that are coming out of his mouth. And I have somebody in this building right now who's seen my son and me interact, who's seen me and Tristan spend time together. And she can attest to the fact that Tristan and me never had any issues. It was not long after he told something to me that he just didn't like my response. So the title of my post is "A Husband and Father That Tried His Hardest and Failed." As I began writing this blog, I realized the math I've always stated since her death was that we were together 6.5 years, a total of 7, prior to getting married. But keep in mind, after my wife passed away, my brain was foggy. You unintentionally suppress memories of your past. And my judgment of time was off. I was sitting here thinking it was June 21st of 2001, but I had been way off this entire time. After realizing just how far off I was sad to know that we weren't together as long as I thought we were. That makes me really sad to know, but after doing the math and knowing it was my 21st birthday when I met her, It makes me sad to know how long I've thought this entire time that we were together 6.5 years prior to marriage. But when you suffer loss and pain, your memories get suppressed, and my track of time was way off. But after doing the math, it was actually June 21st of 2003, not June 21st of 2001. Now, the day of June 21st, 2003, it was actually June 20th prior to midnight, but this explains it all. Yeah, it was June 21st when I met her, but it was June 20th, the night of, that I went to the bar. So, yeah. Anyways, after a long journey of moving into my own place, working hard and making things right for me to live on my own, I knew there was something missing in my life. I knew that living in a town that doesn't like you if you wasn't born here. And that is not coming from my imagination. I can tell you that Robert McAdoo, Will Strongheart, and many other people I met along the way who said that very same thing to me. But the two above I listed are still my friends to this day. But the friends beyond that is very minimal, within the confines of Pratt, Kansas. So on the night of June 20th, 2003, that's a typo, I went to Woody's Bar on South Main Street. Walked there. In fact, at the time, I was literally walking everywhere. It was the night of my 21st birthday. It was June 20th. Mine was so midnight that night was my birthday. And with me living in a small town, options were limited. Knowing a lot of people at this time was going to Woody's Bar every night. I decided to go shoot my shot and hopefully, at the minimum, have fun. But wanted to meet a woman that night. But as always, walking into that bar, nobody welcomed me. None of the ladies cared for me. I was invisible. So invisible that even when I went up and talked to them, they gave me that stank eye. Yeah, the stank eye. If stank eye doesn't sound familiar to you, it's the look a woman gives you when you enter her personal space, and she'd rather poke her eyes out than to see you. So it's a definite look of disgust. But back then, I was also very desperate. I was a simp. I had nothing going for me. Yeah, I had a job. I had my own money. I paid all my bills. I lived on my own. But I was walking everywhere. And most women, not all women, but most women, always have been impressed by a man with car, money, house, clothes. I had one of those things, maybe two. But even if women have never been materialistic, which most women are, I still didn't have the personality needed to attract women. I've always been a kid at heart. I laugh about things that nobody else finds funny. I joke about things that nobody cares about, but that's me. It hasn't the debate always been love yourself? If you don't love yourself, nobody else is ever going to love you. Right? Isn't that the argument women have always told you? No? Well, that's what they've always told me. I have always been a video gamer. I love watching movies. I drink a lot of Coca-Cola. I laugh at Beavis and Butthead. Not many people I talk to about the dynamic duo of Beavis and Butthead laugh with me or care what I have to joke about. I know I have an abrasive personality. By definition, abrasive is showing little concern for others' feelings. But not only that, I'm also goofy as hell. But I also get hurt fast too. Like I can go from happy to sad in as little as 2.5 seconds. So my plan, as it being my 21st birthday, I decided to walk into the bar that night and have my first legal drink of alcohol and test the theory if maybe the liquor would loosen me up and helps me get lucky, as all my friends and brothers have always advised me. And everyone at the bar always tell me to stop drinking soda at the bar. Drink alcohol. It will help you chill the hell out and have fun. So I walked in there with the plan of getting drunk, but I honestly don't like the taste of beer. It's not my thing. Well, to be honest, no alcohol is my thing. I just don't drink at all. I mean, my older brother forced me to go shot for shot in high school for my freshman initiation. A little more deeper into that, I went shot for shot with my brother and all his football buddies, and I never got drunk. I got a little buzzed, but I ended up driving everybody home. They were shit-faced. They were mad at me. I'm not bragging. I'm just telling you it was weird. All I got was hungry and a migraine. After eating, it helped a lot. Anyways, but since then I never drank, drunk, whatever the proper term is. So that night I asked the bartender for the hard stuff. She gave me a shot of tequila and I chugged it down really fast. Wow. It was not very good to me at all, kind of burned. So I said, what about something with orange juice? I didn't know what that drink was called, but the bartender told me it's called a screwdriver. Vodka and orange juice. And yeah, that was my jam. Hey, thanks for watching. That was my jam. I drank 2 of those and then ordered one more, but this last one I wanted it stronger, and I said more vodka this time. It was my hope that drink was going to give me a Super Saiyan power-up to go talk to the ladies. I chugged it down quick and walked around trying to talk to the ladies. I got rejected faster than a 100-mile fastball pitch during a baseball game. I was pretty damn hurt after the 3rd rejection. I was like, damn, that's enough for one night. I was nice. I was respectful. I wasn't acting a fool. I was a gentleman, and nothing worked. I left the bar and grabbed my 44 ounce of Sonic Coca-Cola cup. I hid outside the bar where no one would find it and began walking home drinking my Coke. Keep in mind, Woody's Bar is down by 5th Street. So I began walking on the west end of Main Street, headed home. I was all feeling sorry for myself. Wow, was I emotional and mad. But as I made it to 3rd Street, I could see a couple ladies on the first block of Main Street talking to each other, just hanging out. And the closer I got, I noticed this one girl had the longest hair I had ever seen on a woman before. And the closer I got, the better and better she looked. As I made it to the first block of Main, I was hesitant to go talk to her. Hesitant. I was hesitant to go talk to her. Having been rejected 3 times that night, I was honestly scared to be rejected a 4th time. That's a typo. A 4th time. I'll edit it later. But a thought came across my brain. I said to myself, you know what? I've been playing it safe this whole time. I'm going to go be an asshole. I'm going to walk up to her and be a jerk. And watch. She'll reject me or slap me for being a jerk. The whole way over to her, I was psyching myself out. I was fearing the worst. I was fearing I was going to be slapped. I was going to be rejected and told to leave. But I just said to myself, if I don't try now, I will regret it forever for not trying. So the closer I got to her, I was already in my feelings, but good Lord was she gorgeous. If I could describe her, she had hair down to her lower back, most beautiful eyes and lips I couldn't stop staring at, wishing I could kiss her. But after I snapped myself out of daydreaming, I just walked up to her, put my arm around her, and said, so why don't you come over to my place? Let's get to know each other. And as I feared her response, time froze. My brain was going 1,000,000 miles per minute. She's gonna reject me. She's gonna call me a perv. She's gonna slap me. But her response was, not tonight, but maybe tomorrow. And I was still stuck thinking negative, and I said, I knew it, and started walking away. And when my brain finally snapped into place, I was like, wait, what? Did you just say tomorrow? Maybe? Maybe's good. That's much better than no. Never. She laughed. We traded phone numbers. And as I was leaving, I was still in shock and still playing the jerk. But not really thinking about my actions. I just threw my empty Sonic cup in the back of her truck and looked at her. Or sorry, I need to add this in there, but after I have to add some extra to it. But basically what happened, I threw the cup in the back of her truck and started walking away. And she hollered at me and said, hey, my truck is not a trash can. So I looked at her and quickly grabbed it and said, my bad. And told her I can't wait to talk to her again. And that was that. I can't quite remember. Yeah, that's a typo. I can't quite remember if we seen each other the very next night or a week later, but we definitely texted and called each other. But after a while, we were always together. One could argue at the time I wanted just about anyone. One could argue she was filling a huge gaping hole in my heart that was missing. But I'm here to tell you one thing. The more I got to know her, the more we spent time together, the more we shared our hopes and dreams with each other, I can honestly say I did everything I could to make her happy. I did everything I could to show her how valuable she was to me. When we first met, I had a job, no car, barely any money at all. But she made me believe in myself. She taught me the meaning of what love is. After just a short time together, I began working harder. Not long after that, I had a car. I even got a new job, making much more money. And not long after that, we moved in with each other. And 1.5 years of trying together, we had created life. Our son was born on June 27th of 2004. She was in the hospital for about 3 weeks prior to our son being born. And our son, Tristan Dayan Dearden, was born 9 weeks early. He was 3 pounds, 6 ounces. He was tiny. I'm going to go through and describe these pictures. This first picture is Tristan's baby, very first picture we took of him. He was in the NICU unit in the bubble thing, forgot what it's called. He was born July 27, 2004, Tristan's birthday. He was preemie, so he's hooked up to a lot of machines. That's Gwen holding Tristan. He was 36 days old. Gwen was in her hospital bed for a while after he was born. She couldn't leave. She was under a lot of medicine, and she was healing from the birth. On the 4th, 3 days later, Tristan snoozing in Gwen's arms. Now, these pictures aren't really in order, but I'm just telling this story. This picture here of Gwen is the last picture that I took of her by herself, before she passed away. The very next one was our prom picture. It was her prom. I had already graduated. I was 3 years older than her. I had already graduated, and she was very happy to invite me to her prom. I didn't know if I could because I was much older than everybody, but luckily I was able to go to her prom, and I was her date. This is Tristan in Gwen's cowboy hat, or cowgirl cap. That's Tristan in a cowgirl cap. This is the family photos we took together. The first family photos we took with each other at Walmart. She ended up mailing those photos to her family, and not long after she mailed these pictures off to her family mailed it back to her and wrote, "You're as dead to us as your deadbeat dad." Now keep in mind, her dad was in prison for over 15 years for molesting Gwen's older sister, Maggie. And her mother, Rebecca McReynolds, told me on multiple occasions that she had reasons to believe that Gwen might have been a victim too. This is Gwen. The very next picture is back to the family photo. They sent that picture to us, and it was because they were all mad that Gwen wanted to be with me. They were mad that they felt that I was taking Gwen away from them. I need everyone to understand the implications of that. At the time of sending that photo, she was 21 years old. She was 21 years old at the time of that photo. So, no, she was 19. Because this is the first family photos. Yeah, she was 19. 2 years prior to her death, she was 19. That's when we took that photo. Now, her family mailed that back to her, and it broke Gwen apart. It tore Gwen to shreds. She would close herself off from me. She would close herself off from everybody. She didn't talk to me for a few hours. She'd go into the bathroom, read a book. She'd draw up a bath. She would, after a few hours of being by herself, she was back to normal. I told her I was always there for her. So, the very next photo was not long after we met. Gwen took a photo of herself. She had bumped her head or scratched her head on something, and she was making fun of herself. And she printed it and mailed that photo to me, and I don't know. It's a great photo of her. I like it. The very next photo is the last photo that I took of Gwen and Tristan together in our new home that I worked very hard to get for us. This next photo is years before that. Like 1 year before that. Sorry, not years. In our upstairs apartment that I was renting from my cousin Tommy. It was Halloween. We took these photos. Gwen was wearing a purple dress costume. I don't know. I tried to get a photo of her and Tristan. She didn't want to be in the pictures. I guess she was self-conscious. I don't know. I tried really hard to get her to take pictures. She wouldn't. The very next photo is Tristan. I was in the bath by myself, and Gwen brought Tristan in and said he had spilt food all over himself, and she wanted me to clean him off. So as I was using the washcloth to wipe his face, his chin, his chest, she grabbed the phone and took the picture. I was like, no, I'm naked, but she took the photo. This is around the same time she took this photo. She mailed that one and this one to me. This is Tristan when we lived in Meade. We were in Meade for about 6 months. This is Tristan around the same time as this photo. Not long after the hospital. Another prom photo. This is a picture of me and Tristan not long after Gwen had passed away, but I was living in Spearville, working at Cargill, a meatpacking plant, and I was paying $750 a month for this duplex because I was trying to find a really, really nice place. It was way above my budget. It was way above my ability to pay for it. But I sacrificed food. I sacrificed technology. I sacrificed fun. I sacrificed everything to try and find a beautiful, well-developed home for Tristan. It was 2-bedroom. I mean, it was nice. Had a garage, had everything. Just, in the end, I just couldn't afford it. I tried, but I failed. This photo is me and Tristan. Not much further after this photo. We were in Dodge City at the arcade. We took a photo booth picture. This here is 2 days after Gwen died. The first time I saw Tristan after Gwen had passed. This is the 2 photos that I take joy in. It's got Tristan, me, Mom, Rhonda, and Dustin. Dustin's my brother. But I really like this photo. It's a good picture of me and Tristan. I love Tristan. I really do. I've always loved Tristan. And this is a big prom photo. I'm going to take this out. It's needs edited. But anyways. Anyways, Tristan was in the hospital for 3 months in the premature nursing area. At the time of writing this, couldn't remember what it was called, but now I know it's the NICU unit, NICU. But prior to Tristan's birth, Gwen was really sick. She had preeclampsia and super high blood pressure. Her urine was Coca-Cola black. They had to induce her labor. It wasn't good. Tristan, according to the doctor, Tristan was killing her, and they tried to make me choose between her life and Tristan's life. And her mother was all, save Tristan or save Gwen. I don't know. 1 minute she was save Tristan and screw her. 1 minute she was saying save Gwen, screw Tristan. I told the doctor, it ain't their choice, it's my choice. You're going to save both lives. You're not going to just save his life. You're not just going to save her life. You're going to save both lives. I told the doctor, that's my choice. I never left her side. Even when her mother tried to force me to leave and go home, I refused. I would shower there. I would stay by her side. Guinevere wasn't allowed to eat the entire time. They were giving her fluids in her IV, and she was in and out of sleep. And all she could eat was ice. And to show her I cared, I promised her I would not eat until she did. About a week into eating nothing but ice chips and drinking water, just like her, I began bringing Coca-Cola into the room. She hated me for it, but understood that it was my vice, my only vice. But I still didn't eat. Well, one day, my mom and Gwen's mom forced me to leave, and they walked me down to the cafeteria area. And they said, you gotta eat, you're not looking well. They said, I need you to be strong for Guinevere. And I fought the urge not to, but I'm not gonna lie, I was starving. And I felt guilty when I was eating, but damn was the food good. The next day when my mom brought me a Snickers bar, and I hadn't even opened the wrapper yet, and Gwen could smell it as soon as I entered the room, and she was so mad at me. And I said, my mother bought it for me. She was mad at me, and rightfully so. She had been forced to eat nothing but ice chips and fluids in her IV due to her health issues at the time. After a while, I decided to get a job at the McDonald's that was right across the street from the Wesley Medical Center. I'd work during the morning and evening shift and come into the hospital room and stay as late as possible just to be there for her. I never left her side. I even slept in the room. Except for to make some money, so we had money for us to get ourselves into a bigger place of our own together. And I have always been a good man. I've always been a good person. And I've always, from the time I was young, been good with kids. And since my son was born, I have always done everything possible to be a good father. Literally did the best that I could to be a part of my son's life and to help support my child and my wife. Not long after we got out of living at the Ronald McDonald House, we went home. It was a bit unfortunate. At the time, I was living with Gwen and her mom. I never wanted to live there, but Gwen said she wanted me to live there with her, while we saved money to get a bigger place for ourselves. I knew her mother didn't want me there, so I went and spoke to her mother about it. I asked her, how do you feel about me living here? I know you don't want me here, but Gwen is insisting you're okay with this. All I want to do is to get a a place that is much bigger than a studio or one bedroom home for us. Rent, not buy. The longest I would be there is a month or two. Are you okay with this? Her mom said, and her mom was all for it, but she argued she didn't want me there, but she knew how important it was for Gwen, so she allowed it. And guess what? I wasn't even there longer than a month. After a month of hard work, and after Rebecca kicked me out twice, and I went to live with my parents during those times, saving up for a place of my own for me and my girlfriend and our child. From the moment we moved into our own place, her mother was psychotic about thinking that I'm taking her daughter away from her. So every time Gwen would tell her mom that we had an argument, her mother would call the cops on me for abusing her daughter. For abusing her daughter. Sorry, I lost my place. Okay, I found it. Sorry. It was absolutely insane. Not once did I ever harm Guinevere. But the funny thing is, I was never afraid of the cops, that the cops were called. Not because I felt entitled to freedom, and not because I wasn't afraid of the police, because believe me, I was. Trust me, the police can be scary, especially when a woman's safety is a concern. But I was never afraid because I knew they had nothing to go on. Rebecca had no proof or evidence or any form of violence. She just heard that we had an argument and the police would be called. At the time, I began to become numb to the police being called on me. And what's funny is the same officer began to show up to every single one of those calls. And the same thing happened every single time the police were called. They would take me outside, separate me from Gwen, and they would question her, and a female officer would check her for any signs of assault or abuse. After about the 100th call, I asked the officer that always showed up, "Isn't there something I can do to protect myself from this type of harassment? And isn't filing a false police report a crime?" And his response was always, "Unfortunately, any time there's a report of domestic violence and they are required by law to show up to do a welfare check." I was like, okay, but at what point and what time do you start calling her on her bullshit? 100 times is a bit excessive, don't you think? And he said, "As I said before, unfortunately, we are required by law to do a welfare check on every call of domestic violence." So again, I became numb to it. When they showed up, I would leave the house, wait for them to finish what they were doing, and they would leave. And I'd be outside talking to the same officer every time, with a can of Coca-Cola that the officer brought me, which was nice. Then there was this one time we went and got family pictures together at Walmart for the second time. The first time it was just me and her, and she had sent all copies to her family, and I did the same for my family. Not long after she mailed her copies of our first family pictures, she got every single one of them back, and they all said the same thing from different family members. Her Aunt Karen, her mother, her cousins, her friends, and just about every single one of those images came back to her, and they all wrote with black permanent marker over every image, written from each of them, but they all said, "You're as dead to us as your deadbeat dad." Her father was placed in prison over 15 years for molesting Gwen's older sister, Maggie. And everyone, including her mother, believes to this day that Gwen was the victim as well. So the words written on that picture drove Gwen to do things that was not healthy to her and hard to even think about her doing. But oftentimes I was finding that my Mach 3 turbo razor blades would come up missing, and I'd have to go buy more just so I could shave. I couldn't figure out where they was. They were always going missing. And then one day, not long after receiving those pictures back, she began cutting her chest, her thighs, her arms, her legs. At the time, I had no clue what cutting was or why she was even doing it. I just knew once I found out, I immediately began hiding my razor blades from her. Not only to protect her, but because those damn things were expensive as hell. And I still are. And I have to shave frequently for my job. But the main focus was protecting her from herself. And also, I tried to talk her into going to see a psychologist, a therapist, a counselor, or any person for that matter. Any person for that matter. There it is. Or any person that could help her. And she made serious threats to me at that time that if I ever mentioned the C word again, she would leave me forever. And began to tell me she had bad experiences as a child with a counselor and how they never helped her. So I was just a man doing the best I can to support my family. We just moved out of a Roach Motel apartment I was renting from my cousin Tommy. Neighbors were not very clean, and it wasn't healthy for my son or my woman. So I saved up and got a better place. I went from working at pizza for 1 year to working at a trucking company. I went from earning $400 every 2 weeks to making $750 guaranteed salary every week. I went from $800 a month to $3,000 a month income. Needless to say, our family had everything we needed. A clean home, a roof over our head, no bugs, bought her a car, bought me a new car, bought her and my son clothes and shoes, bills were paid, food was on the table. She finally had a new computer she always wanted. This was part 1. I'm going to make part 2 soon. After we do the interaction of Tristan's video, I'm going to respond to it. But before we dive into that, I'm going to dive into this. I'm going to leave this blog post with, come back later for more, but I want to leave everyone with a letter my wife wrote me on Christmas Eve, not even 3 months, or sorry, not even a month before she passed. It was 2 months before she passed away. Because she passed away in February. This was Christmas Eve. And the letter she wrote me reads as follows. Dear Josh, I hope you understand that you are the man that I truly love and only you. You have stuck by me through all the hard times that I had and stuck up with the bull crap that my family caused, and I appreciate that with all my heart. I remember when I wrote the letter to you, in it said that I gave you half of my heart, and now I'm ready to give you all of my heart. And in my heart, you have a special place that's right by our son. I see the real you when you are asleep. And when we are, I don't know if it says messing around, wrestling around. I think it's wrestling. Yeah. When we are wrestling around, I always have fun with you no matter what goes wrong. I will always be with you through the good and the bad times. When the road gets bumpy and smooth, and just to be by you is true love for me. I will always love you no matter how mad I get at you, even for the littlest things in life. But I plan to work on that too. I love you so much that I don't think I can find another man to find and love like I love you. I will be yours forever, as you will be mine forever too. I don't know how to say it out loud without get tongue-tied in the process, so I'm typing my feelings down for you. Now I can try to tell you my feelings and out loud with you around. But I will writing down on paper for you always. Even when I see you with our son, I can see a special twinkle in your eye when you have him in your arms. And that makes me even love you more. The more you do, the more I love you. I want to try so hard to give you the love that you deserve, but I don't know how. You know it because of my history. I want to run from it, but never turn. I think what she meant is I want to run from it, but every turn I make or direction I go, it finds me and I find it. But I try to replace all that with memories of us being together and us sharing good times with each other. Well, I wrote this letter to give you on Christmas Eve with my love and deepest love comes from my very heart and soul. And I'm going to you the man I fell in love with. That last sentence I don't understand. If anybody understands that better, let me know. I think I asked her at the time, but I forgot. And it was signed by her, Guinevere R. McReynolds. We were married at the time, so I don't know why she was signing it McReynolds, but I don't know. Now that I've given you all that, now that we've dived into my blog post, everybody who's on my live stream on TikTok, you won't be able to hear the audio from this, but we're going to dive into the rest of this video. At the end, I'm going to tell you all where you can find this whole video with the reaction to my son's accusations. We're going to go back to the beginning so we can just start from step one. All this is really hard for me to hear. It really is.
My father or Joshua L. Dearden. I want you to know this right now. If you've seen his video of me, him explaining to you what happened and me telling him that I no longer want to see him, you don't know the true story behind it. You don't know the true reason why I need to stop seeing him. You don't.
Let's pause it there. Like, why do you need to stop seeing me? That's question one. Like, what's the reason that you need to stop seeing me? I think that is something everyone should get a feel for. I understand he's going to tell everybody why he's mad at me. But a lot of the accusations made in this are illogical. There's no evidence. He claims that he has proof. He states no proof. He just keeps saying I have proof, and none of it's true. Keep in mind that not once did I ever, in the entire time that I knew his mom, the entire time that I've had Tristan in my life from birth to now, have I ever harmed either one of them. Back to the video.
Don't know the truth. Whatever he's told you is a complete scam and lie. All he's trying to get out of you and the people who you follow is support and pity. He wants your pity, okay? I've dealt with this man for 16 fucking years of my life. And still, I hate him. I used to think I knew him. And I don't. I don't know him anymore. Okay.
Let's talk about that. Pity. I don't want anybody's pity. That's not what I'm here. Son, when you get older, there's going to come a day where some woman is going to claim that you did something that you never did. It happens to the best of us men. The good men mostly. It happens. There's going to come a day when you get accused of doing something that you never did. And whether you believe it or not, son, but that's what you're doing right now. You are making a claim at which you say you have evidence. You're making a claim to which you say you have proof. But Gwen would have never stayed with me for the entire time that we did if I harmed her. No. As previously mentioned in this video, your grandma is the reason your mother is in the grave today. Not me. I need you to understand that. Not once have I ever hurt you or hit Gwen. I've never hurt either one of you.
I no longer know my father, and I don't want to know him. Because I already
This
know
is
what I
hard
need
to
to
hear.
know. And the truth is that he abused me and my mother long before she died. She died when I was 2 in a train wreck. I was in that wreck, and I survived for I don't know how.
A miracle.
But know this now, whatever he's told you, whatever you think you know, whatever you think is the truth, is a lie. And I will explain to you all the truth. Because I have proof of what he's done to me and my mother. And he's not the good guy, trust me. None of you know him like I have known him. I know. Okay, so I'm gonna try and make this quick, and I'm gonna explain to you the truth and what he's done to me and the truth.
Alright, we're on to clip 3. And you're gonna find throughout this whole clip, he speaks about how he has proof, and yet not once has he given you a scenario of anything that I've done. No proof. He's being puppeted by his maternal grandmother. I want you to pay attention to the word choices that he uses. Here, pretty soon, he's going to state that I'm making the claim that the reason he doesn't want to see me no more is because of his grandma, which is true. That's a true statement. But what he's going to say in response to that is that it's not his grandma's fault that I don't want to that he don't want to see me, but it's my fault that he don't want to see me. That could be partially true because how I reacted to when he came out to me about his sexuality choices. But yeah, we'll dive into that deeper.
When I was 2, I'm gonna actually give you guys the whole
Are
story
you awake?
because I want you to know the truth and you quit being lied to. When I was 2, my mother died in a train wreck, and I was in Iraq and I survived. But my mother did not. And after that happened, my grandmother and my father went to the courts so they could see who would get custody of me. And my father did not
Podcast.
get custody of me because
I'm streaming
his
live on
lifestyle,
Twitch.
how he was living. And before that, the police had been called and the police had went to his house over. My grandmother had called the police on my father because of my mom was telling my grandmother that she was being abused and that I was being abused and pushed around, and so was she by my father. But they never arrested him because to him, the cop said he was okay, he was fine, but he truly wasn't. And
Okay. Now, I don't know if he mentioned it now, but he's about to. He's going to talk about how his mom attempted suicide because of how I was treating her. But that's a fallacy. As I stated in my blog post, the picture that she received back from her own mother with the words, "You're as dead to us as your deadbeat dad." Her mother treated her daughter with such hatred because she wanted to be with me. So by mailing that picture back to Gwen, that night when I came into the house and Tristan was screaming bloody murder and she was nowhere to be found, like nowhere, I didn't know where she was. I was searching throughout the whole house. The only room left was the bathroom. I was banging on the door, telling her Tristan's crying, what's going on? She wasn't answering. I ended up kicking the door down when I walked into this bathroom. It was like a horror movie. It's like I walked into a horror movie. I'm not one to be grossed out by blood or pain or guts or anything like that. But when I see my wife bleeding in the tub, blood on the walls, blood dripping out of her wrist, holding a picture, holding the very picture that she sent of me, Tristan, and Gwen, that she sent to her mother, holding it in her left hand, and in the right hand she was just slicing and slicing and slicing and slicing all over the place, depressed over what her mother, her own mother, sent her. I was freaking out. Tristan was still screaming, but I was focused on a bloody murder scene here. I didn't know what to do. I grabbed her wrist and I tried to get the blade out of her hand. She wouldn't stop. So I ended up grabbing a towel. I wrapped it around her wrist where she was bleeding and she was still trying to cut with the towel on. I ended up grabbing her wrist one more time. I didn't care if the razor blade cut my hand. I didn't care. All I could think about is her life. Nobody else's. Her life. Didn't think about mine. She was literally dying in front of me. So I finally smacked the razor blade out of her hand. I picked her up out of the tub. I carried her to to our bedroom. I plopped her down on the bed. I grabbed a robe. I placed the robe around her, got her covered, and I tightened that towel a little bit. I went to go grab Tristan, and she was gone. When I turned around, she was gone. Heard some knocking, went to the door. I think she was knocking on the wall in the closet so I could hear it in the room. Outside of the room, when I left and came back, Tristan was on my shoulder, not crying anymore, because we had a good bond. Me and Tristan and Gwen. Tristan had a good bond with Gwen, and Tristan had a good bond with me. Every time I picked him up, he was happy. Every time Gwen picked him up, he was happy. We had a good bond. So, when I was done calming Tristan down, I began looking for Gwen. Nowhere to be found. Last place was where I heard voices coming from the closet. She was on the phone with her mom, calling her to tell her that she didn't like how I grabbed her out of the tub. But I need everybody to understand something. I was literally horrified. I was scared for her life. I didn't know what to do. That is a interaction, a moment, I was in shock. I didn't know what was going on. All I know is there's blood in the tub, blood on the wall, blood dripping out of her wrist. She's slicing herself, looking at our family picture that her family wrote all over. Her mother drove her to all this. Now let's dive deeper into that interaction with the police, okay? That day, after I got her robed up and Tristan calmed down, I called 911, said, "Come here quick. My wife is bleeding. She's bleeding all over the place. I'm fear of her life. She cut herself. Please hurry." They showed up. They did the same thing they always do. The ambulance showed up first. The cop showed up second. And what did they do? They took me outside. They separated me from Gwen. They inspected her. They took my statement. They took her statement. Female officer inspected her body for wounds, and the only wounds she had was wounds from when she hurt herself. Period. Now, Tristan said in the video that every time the police showed up, they told me I was okay. Now, for you females and Tristan and anybody watching this, trust me, I was the last thing the officers cared about. When a woman's safety is a concern, the last thing they give two shits about is whether the man is healthy, happy, or in a good mood. They don't care. So Tristan, females, everybody watching this, I need you to know, they did not care about me, Tristan. They did not care about me, followers. They did not care about my safety or my health or my mindset. They never did. When a woman's safety is a concern, the woman is all they focus on. So when they left, they never said, Tristan, they never told me that you're okay. That, are you okay? They never said that I am good. Nothing was ever said. They would do their investigation, they would leave. But I would ask and say, what can I do in situations like this? And every time they said, you need to get her to counseling. So after they left, I would talk to her about counseling. And she would threaten to leave me. She would threaten divorce. She would threaten to take Tristan and never come back. I don't know what happened. She won't talk to me. She never did talk to me about her counseling. She just said that something bad happened as a kid. They never helped her. I'm not allowed to bring it up. And she won't seek help. And it was hard. Because I wanted her to be happy. I wanted her to be healthy. I wanted her to be in a good mindset. But one thing I've learned dealing with alcoholics, drug addicts, I have family that's been through that kind of stuff, and people who have bad shit in their past. Gwen was not a drug addict. Gwen was not an alcoholic. I'm just giving you an example of the fact that you cannot help somebody who is not willing to first help themselves. That's something I've learned. If I could go back and do it all over again, I would call and report her hurting herself the first time. She'd probably still be in a bad situation because of how her mother is so psychotic and controlling and thinks that everybody's trying to take her daughter away from her, but she's a grown woman and she made her choice. But if I could go back, I probably would have reported the first time. But I threatened to report. I said, if you don't do this, I'm going to report. But she would threaten to leave me and never see me again if I even considered it. And I feared that because I loved her. I did. I loved her. It was a catch-22 moment. I didn't know what to do. Keep in mind, I was a dad. I was a man doing the best that I could. I was a father, a husband, a boyfriend. It was a boyfriend that led up to being her husband. I was literally under the control wing of a woman who didn't want to help herself. And no matter what, I loved her. No matter how bad she did bad things to herself, I loved her. No matter how many times she threatened to leave me, I loved her. Every woman I've ever been with has at one point in my life, in every relationship I've ever been in, has threatened to leave me. And not because of something bad, not because I did something wrong, but because I said something they didn't like, I did something they didn't like stupid things. Not because of abuse, not because of words that came out of my mouth. Maybe I said something that was not funny or that I thought was funny and they didn't. Maybe because, I don't know. I can't give a whole lot of examples right now. The point is, never have I ever in my life abused a woman. Ever. Never in my entire life have I ever abused a child. Not my child, not nobody else's child. Ever. In fact, I can tell you right now, being without my son was harder than anybody would ever know. In the comments below, when you watch this, in the comments below, let me ask you, any parent, how would you feel if the courts and the ex-mother-in-law forced you to stay away from your child for over a year, the only time I ever got to see my child was every other weekend of every month. I got to see him for 2 days. Basically a 1.5 days. That's basically 3 to 4 days a month, period. I'm going to round it up to 2 and say, guess what? That's 48 days a month. So to all the parents out there, I'd love your comments below. Wouldn't you be depressed only seeing your child 48 days a year for the last 15 years? Wouldn't you be sad? I know I am. I know I'm destroyed by it. I know I didn't like it. But I need everybody to understand something. I have friends that their kids call me Uncle Joshua. In fact, I'm going to name the most amazing family I know that has kids, and their kids look up to me like I spoil the shit out of them. I buy them what I can when I can. I'm not rich. I can't buy them all the devices that they keep begging me to buy them. I want to. I'm dying to buy them those things, but I'll take them out for ice cream. I'll buy them pops. I'll take them to the mall. I'll take them to the movies. Whatever they want, I make it happen. If I can't make it happen, I tell them I'm sorry. I'm trying. But I'm going to mention JR and Rachel Hunter. I knew JR way back when I first moved to Pratt. Not long after that, I met Rachel, his wife. Not long after that, I met Patty and Raylan Hunter. These girls, since they were really, really tiny, have always called me Uncle Joshua. And I break down and cry it's very rare that I do. But I break down, one year I broke down and I cried to Rachel when JR wasn't around. I mean, JR heard it. He came home about halfway through it. I was crying. I think he went to go grab some smokes or something. And when he came back, I was pouring my heart out to Rachel and him, and I was telling him how hard it is to be without Tristan. I told him how hard it was to be a father and not be able to be a father. To be a parent and not be able to show your child the love that you want to. And I told her and JR how much I appreciate them allowing me to spoil their daughters, to spend time with them, to be a good role model, to spoil them whenever I can. But in a small way, I think being an uncle to those girls helped me fill the void of not being able to spend that time with Tristan. It helped me feel like a parent. I understand they're not my girls, they're not my daughters, they're not my nieces by blood, but I am the closest thing to blood because JR and Rachel have been really close friends of mine for a very long time. Rachel will admit she didn't like me at first. Jamie, thumbs up if you're still awake over there. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Damn, how many seconds is it? It's like a 20-second delay between my stream and the viewer. So, I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is being able to be an uncle to Patty and Raylan, being able to spoil them and spend time with the family, JR, Rachel, and the kids, and do all that, it really does feel like this empty void that I have inside of me when I want to do that for my son, and I can't because I'm limited on when I can see him. I'm limited on how often I get to see him. And you're going to hear in some of these videos that he says that I wasn't there for him, that all his friends had dads and he didn't. But he did have me. But we'll react as we go.
Neither were me and my mom. And my mom actually once tried to kill herself.
Thank you.
Because of how my father was treating her.
Thank you, Jamie Clay.
And she lost her mind because of my father. She was destroyed because of my father. And my father's going around and saying my grandmother is destroying my mind, is mind warping me. It's my father who is. And you need to believe that. My mother had tried to commit suicide. And so
yeah,
he's
definitely being coached.
It's because of how my dad treated her. And so she had to move into my grandmother's place and moved in with my grandmother. And then this happened a lot of times. And my mother loved my dad and didn't want to get rid of him. Didn't want to lose him or anything. And so one day my mother moved out, and then one day my mom and me were going to my uncle's, and we got stuck on the train tracks, and we didn't get out in enough time, and she died after the train hit the car. And so after my mother's death, they went to the courts to see who would get custody over me. And the courts decided that after reviewing how my father's living situation was and how his work situation was, that it was not fit for me to live with him. It was not fit living conditions. It was better for me to move with my grandparents. Because my father was not living correctly, and he had been taken to a hospital for trying to commit suicide.
Okay, that's all that suicide talk is going to be in part 2. This is part 1. I'm not going to stop letting you watch the rest of this. I'm just wanting everybody to know that we'll dive into the story about why I tried to hurt myself and how I failed at that, because I honestly didn't want to hurt myself. I just didn't want to live without him. I didn't want to live without her. But yes, I did go to Larned State Hospital for attempted suicide. That's correct. But Gwen, I mean, we'll go through all these, and then when it's in the next video that I post about this story, we will dive into what led up to all the rest of the journey.
Also. And so I went and I lived with them for a couple of years. I still live with them. And then after maybe a year or so, I started having visitations with them.
I want to read these comments from Jamie Clay. She says, I have one memory from 2 years old that was breaking a collarbone. He was told these stories. That is most likely made up. Of that, I can agree, Jamie. None of this sounds like him. None of it. And none of it is factual. He has no evidence. He keeps saying he has evidence. But where's the proof? Where's the evidence?
My father. That did not go well at all. So then visitations started when I was about 3 or 4.
He was 2.
And my father couldn't even do that right.
He was 2.
He would always come up with excuses for why he was late, why he was never on time. And most of his visitations were taken from him because he was not responsible enough to get up on time, be ready on time, and get there on time when he needed to. And that's part of the reasons why he always disappointed me and stuff, and he was always expecting me to think he was the greatest and he think he was the best father ever, when truthfully he was the worst father ever.
That's a lot to take in. The worst father ever. It's a lot to take in. All right, let's dive into the whole talk about yeah. I can't remember anything when I was 2. I can remember 3 or 4, but not 2. But I want to dive into the whole interaction with how he said I was always late. And that's a lie. I was not always late. Then he dove into the fact that I would wake up late, and I was not responsible enough to wake up late. Well, I want everybody to understand a very important factor. To those watching on TikTok, for those watching on Twitch, I want everybody to understand something. This was not a same city visitation. I was living in Wichita, Kansas at this time. Yeah, it almost does sound like he's reading, like he's being coached. But I want everybody to understand that I was living in Wichita. He was living in Arlington with his grandma. That's about a 52-mile drive. Maybe more. I think it's around 52, yeah. It's about a 52-mile drive from where I was living. All right? That's 52 miles there, 52 miles back, 52 miles to bring him home after our visitation. She wouldn't meet me halfway. The judge wouldn't let me meet her halfway. The judge was a psycho just like her. They wouldn't agree to a meeting point halfway. I had to drive the entire way. That is 156-mile round trip to drive from Wichita to Arlington, back to Wichita. Wait, 50, 50, 50. Yeah. Yeah. And then, no. Then I got to add the trip home. That's 208 miles round trip. I had to leave home, drive to Arlington, drive home, spend time with them, take them to movies, do the stuff we're doing. That's a little extra miles. Drive back to drop them off, then drive home. That's 208 miles round trip. Now, keep in mind, I have a 2003 Dodge Ram 1500 truck. Not great on gas mileage. Not cheap on gas mileage either. Gas ain't cheap, no matter what decade we're in. So, let's put it this way. I was putting a lot of miles on my truck. I had to work overnight sometimes. Work overtime sometimes. I had to pull double shifts sometimes. I had to borrow money for gas sometimes. I had to do everything I could to get to and from to pick up my son and make sure that the vehicle would make it so we're not stranded. And those nights that I had to work really late, by the time I got home, I was so tired that, yeah, there are nights that I might have forgotten to set the alarm. Or there were times where I slept over the alarm, didn't even hear the alarm. Rebecca had nothing to do. She sat her ass at home, waited for me to pick him up, and waited for me to bring him back. She didn't have to drive 1 mile at all to meet with me. I was doing the best that I could with what I had. Did I fail to be there on time a few times? Yes. Did I fail to be there hundreds of times? No. Were my visitations taken away because of me? No. My visitations were taken away from me because Rebecca said, well, he can't come see you this weekend. He's hanging out with this person. Or he can't come see you this weekend because we got plans. What she always failed to realize is that visitations are court ordered. They're required. They are my right as a father to see my child. You can't take my visitation away just because you have a trip or a weekend plan or Christmas plans or this plan or that plan. No. If it falls upon my weekend, it's my time. My visitation wasn't taken away because of my actions. My visitations weren't taken away because I was a bad dad. My visitations were taken away a few times because I woke up late and Rebecca refused to let me to go see him. And I called and fought it and argued it, but the judge agreed with her. Well, I'm sorry. I'm not perfect, people. Did I fail from time to time? Yes. Am I a perfect parent? No. Did I try my hardest to do right by him? Yes. But I failed. A few times, yes. But none of the words coming out of his mouth right now are his words. It's obvious he's being coached. But I'm going to read what she's saying. Jamie Clay typed, he may not see it now. He is 16, the same age as my oldest. He will realize when he gets older. Yes, the stuff he is saying is very hurtful. I know my oldest has said the same thing to me. Probably a V8. And it's probably, no, it's a 4.7 liter I think it is a V8. A 4.7 liter V8. You are human. It's not like you done it on purpose. Correct. But I had to work extra hours just to afford the fuel for 208-mile round trip. That's not cheap on a old truck or any truck. It's not cheap. That's the value of single parent. Don't beat yourself up over it. I'm not beating myself up. I feel like I have to prove myself because he's broadcasting all these false things across the internet that I don't know.
And he can't even play the father role right, so I don't know how he can easily lie to you like this. So, and also what I mean by he couldn't play the father role right is
I've never lied to anybody my entire life.
he never truly cared.
Not the people that I care about.
And I don't
I've
think
lied
he
to
ever truly
teachers.
cared about my mom. All he wanted
I've
was
lied to
his
principals.
self-pleasure, and his
I've
own
lied to
desires
employers.
to be above all else. Because
I woke up late because I I don't
He
know.
controlled
I'm
my
late
mom.
because of this. I'm late
He
because of that.
destroyed her
But I've never lied
changed.
to anybody
terribly.
that I cared about.
And ever since I've started visitations with him, he's probably been with over, I don't know, 20 to 25 different girls, different women. And he's never helped.
20 to 25 girls? Are you freaking kidding me? Oh my god. 20 to 25 girls since he's known me? What? 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 I'm gonna read these comments real quick. I know better than this. I have talked to you for 2 years, and you've been single. Yeah, for most of it, yeah. My girlfriend Jamie says he has never lied to me and don't think he ever would. He's an honest man. Thank you, Jamie. Yeah, until recent, I'm not single no more, but most of the time I'm single. Wow. Okay, let's do the math. Gwen died. There was Tasha. There was Angela. There was Tasha, Angela, then there was Alicia, there was Kimberly, there was Jennifer. I was single for a while, and then there was Jamie. Now, there was a lot of dates that I went on. A lot. A lot of first dates that I went on. But that's not a relationship. Men fail at dates a lot. But I only had 5 actual girlfriends since Gwen died. 5. That's it. I don't know where he's getting all this. And I am still here, guys, cooking supper at work. Thank you.
About a relationship with him because he's too insecure and he's too damn controlling. He's a controlling man. Also look out for that.
I'm controlling. Okay. Well, Tristan's... I think I understand why he's saying what he just said. Because there was a few times where he witnessed me grabbing Kimberly's phone out of her hands because I caught her cheating. Multiple times. When he met Alicia, she did the same thing. I grabbed the phone out of her hands. Look, the only thing I failed at was not being strong enough to tell them to kick rocks. I should have just said, leave. Don't talk to people or I'm gone. I should have packed my shit and left. If it's my house, she should have been booted. I shouldn't have allowed it to continue. Because once a cheater, always a cheater. But it's not a controlling action to want your partner to only be loyal to you. That's not control. It's stupidity to put up with your partner cheating, but it's not controlling When you catch your partner doing something that is not conducive to a healthy relationship, and you want them to stop doing what's not healthy to a conducive relationship. So if snatching the phone out of my girlfriend's hand is controlling because I caught her sending tit pics to another man, then you can call it controlling. It was not it's not a healthy action. It's not appropriate action. It's her phone. I don't pay her cell phones. I don't pay women's cell phones bills. So it's not my responsibility. I have no right to check her phone. And trusting is hard when you know they're doing something wrong. When you know they're doing things they shouldn't do. Jamie Clay says, no, if she loved you, she would have never done that. True. Jamie, you agree with her? In the comments, Jamie, do you agree with her? I agree. But I also have a responsibility with that. While we wait on Jamie's answer, I also have a responsibility not to grab a phone out of a woman's hands, even when she's done something wrong. That's a controlling action. I can agree with that. But I was in a toxic situation. Jamie agrees. That's good. I was in a toxic environment. I was in a toxic situation. I was in yeah, there is a delay. I was in a situation where I was in love with the women that I was with, and they were doing things that was very painful for me to deal with. Cooking and trying to keep it up. LOL. I'm slow. That's alright, Jamie. Thanks for watching. So, the most toxic thing I did in these relationships was allowed it to continue. Grabbing the phones out of their hands, probably toxic. Being mad that they were flirting with other men, that's her. That's all on her. Me being mad, I have every right to be upset. If you're a man and you're watching this and you know your woman is talking to other men in a sexual nature and she's sending photos to them, you have every right to be mad. But trust me, take my advice. Don't take the phone out of her hands. Don't try and control what she says, who she says what to, and when she says what, and what she sends to other men. I'm going to tell you the most healthy thing you can ever do to a woman that treats you that way. If you catch her doing something wrong, don't snatch the phone out of her hand. Hell, don't even let it bother you. Because what she's doing in that moment is she's showing you that she don't love you. In that moment, she's showing you that she don't respect you, that she don't value. Yeah, she's showing her true colors. What you need to do is simply say, if it's your house, you grab her stuff peacefully, you hand it to her, you open the door, and you say, have a nice life. And when she asks you why, you tell her she knows why. And if she wants to play stupid, tell her you've seen the messages. If she wants to beg and plead and say sorry, say no. No. You don't respect me. I'm the man in this relationship. If a woman does not respect her man, she does not love her man. Period. What you need to do is, instead of getting mad, you need to get your stuff. If it's her house, grab your stuff, leave. Don't put up with it. Walk. Don't snatch the phone out of her hand. That was my toxic behavior. That's what Tristan would call controlling. Because I didn't want her going out with other men. because I didn't want her doing things with other men, because I didn't want her sending nudies to other men. Instead of walking away, I allowed it to continue. I hoped that her seeing me upset would make her see the difference between, controlling and this and this and this. It was out of love. Please stop doing this. It hurts me. And it kept happening. So my toxic behavior was I allowed it to continue. And that's my problem. I shouldn't have allowed it to continue. So, moving on.
And so, visitations that were taken away from him were actually his fault because he never made it there on time.
Once again, claiming that I never made it to visitations on time is a false statement. I was there literally every other weekend, and there was very, very minute, small amounts of visitations, maybe 2 or 3 a year, taken away from me. In the last 15, 16 years of his life, I was there at almost every visitation.
And when I was younger, I always looked up to him because I always wanted a dad. Because I'd hear all these other kids.
I'm going to read these comments real quick. That is disrespectful. A female should never do it. 100%. Walk away. Her true colors. Yeah, showing her true colors. Jamie says, I pay my own cell phone bill, but I will kindly have my boyfriend my phone out of respect because I don't have nothing to hide. I know all my passwords and all. I noticed he repeats this a lot in all the videos. Yeah, I do talk about this a lot. Me too. Jamie says, me too. Josh can look at my phone anytime he wants to. He knows my passcode. Yeah, but I forget it sometimes. But I don't really look at her phone. I trust her.
All my other friends.
Jamie says, me too, girly. It's respect, not you. Jamie said, I don't feel it's controlling. It's a respect thing to me. I need Joshua to know he can trust me. I said Tristan repeats. Oh, Tristan, not me. Yeah, he does repeat it over and over. Like when the video stops, I honestly think, because these are 12 different videos. These are not one long video. I honestly believe that she's in the passenger seat coaching him. He's in a car. I honestly believe he's being coached. And it looks like he's in the back seat of a Suburban or truck or something.
And say, I have a dad. We play cash. We do
think
this.
it's
we
skipping.
do that. And I can never
We're going to go back a little.
away from him were actually his fault because he never made it there on time. And when I was younger, I always looked up to him because I always wanted a dad. Because I'd hear all these other kids, all my other friends say, I have a dad. We play cash. We do this. We do that. And I can never say that because my dad was somewhere with some woman or in some hotel because he didn't have a job, or in his truck sleeping because he had no job and nothing to take care of himself and stuff.
Okay. I'm gonna stop it right there for a minute. I had some employment issues in my life, but I have always had a job. Like, always. Yes. Not long before Jamie met me, I lost a job. But Jamie, in the comments, what was I doing before you met me? I was doing lumber jobs. I was building things. I was doing side work. No matter what, I've always had a job or some source of income. Even when I'm unemployed, I've always had a job.
Alright,
Yeah,
so
I
I've
did have a
decided
rough
I'm not
patch.
going to share my whole life story because
Okay. Keep in mind, 8 out of the 12 videos that he posted, he told everybody up to this point that he had all these jobs, that he had all this proof, and he was going to tell everybody proof. He was going to tell everybody what his, like, that he had evidence. And now he's saying he's not going to tell everybody. Like, what?
there's a lot of people on this app that I don't want them knowing anything or knowing too much, but yeah, I'm just gonna say he cannot even be a father, and another reason he was such a terrible father is because come this last Christmas, a little while before it, my grandpa died, and I live with my grandmother and grandpa, and I dearly loved my grandfather because he was more of a dad to me than my own father was. And when I had my visitation with my dad, he did not even care to ask how I was doing, and when he couldn't even step up to the plate to even ask how I was
Step up
doing
to the
or
plate.
if I was okay, that just hurt me even more than I was hurt. And then the next day, I
frozen.
told him about my sexuality, and he basically flipped on me, saying,
Okay. Before we dive into that, let's focus on his grandfather. Now keep in mind, there's something that I'm going to tell you in part 2, but I'm going to give you an idea of it right now. I'm just going to talk about it. We're going to dive into this because he just said that I didn't care that his grandfather died. Gwen's dad. The one that molested Maggie. The one that, hypothetically, according to his own wife, claimed he might have. She believes that he did. Keep in mind, I don't care about that man. Never have, never will. So when Tristan told me that that man died, his grandpa, I was excited. I was happy. I said, thank fucking God. The world is a safer place without him in it. Tristan did not like that at all. And he was mad because Tristan loved his grandpa. In fact, he says that his grandfather was more of a dad than I ever was. That's a hit below the belt right there, first of all. Look, I'm about to say something that I wasn't going to say before, but I need everybody to do the math, okay? My son was arrested and charged with a sexual act against a minor boy for doing something he shouldn't have done. And I want you to do the timeline, okay? Tristan never acted, never even mentioned, never said anything of the nature of any of that whatsoever before his grandfather got out of jail. The man who molested Gwen, or molested Maggie and allegedly, according to Rebecca, allegedly had a sexual act against Gwen. Now, the very next activity, not even a year after Richard got out of jail, my son was charged with molesting a 5-year-old boy. Now, I'm breaking this out to the internet, and I probably shouldn't. Probably makes me a terrible person. But this is not to divulge or make my son look bad. Maybe it is, maybe it ain't. But my anger involves Richard, not my son. My son did something he shouldn't have done. I don't condone it. I don't respect it. I don't appreciate it. But I want you all to do the math. Not even a year. It wasn't even 6 months after Richard got out of jail. Tristan was charged with something he should have never done. That's the most detail I'm going to give you. Probably said more than I should have. And look, Tristan loves his grandpa more than he loves his own dad. Now, that's a small percentage of the issue. The other issue is Tristan told me that a girl in Australia that he loves in Australia is transforming herself into a boy. And he told me that he loves that man. The girl turning into a guy. Now, I'm going to tell you, there's been a lot of things in my life. My wife passing away, my son being taken away from me dealing with a biased court system throughout the decades of this situation. My son coming out to me was a big blow. And I know damn well that I did not react the way Tristan wanted me to react. I guess he wanted me to welcome him with open arms and be proud that he's gay or whatever it is, bi, I don't know. I was not happy. In fact, all I've been thinking about all these years is how the fact that the timeline doesn't change how I feel. He gets out of jail, my son becomes a little weird, and then he's dating a girl that wants to be a boy. And he's dressing and changing his hair, changing the color of his hair, growing his hair out like a girl. If you see his profile picture, he's not acting like the son that I've known. He's not. Well, Tristan went through all this probation and all this court stuff, and they took him off probation and they cleared his name, I guess, whatever, but still. So he is angry because I didn't react the way he wanted me to react. I didn't respond the way he wanted me to respond. And because I didn't like his choices and said that I was disappointed that he's doing what he's doing, it hurt his feelings. And I think that is why he's going out of his way to smear my name, to make me look bad, to call me every name in the book, tell everybody I'm abusive, and his grandmother is coaching him. It's obvious. You notice now that he's not in that car. He's different. Before I continue, I'm going to read the comments I missed. I could tell he switches his story a lot, says Jamie. And she can't blame me. Jamie said, I spent Christmas with Joshua and Tristan. I was shocked to hear all this from Tristan. We've taken him to the mall, the movies, out to eat, and Joshua has been great to him. Jamie Clay agreed with Jamie. Jamie says, this is all came out of the blue. Jamie says, the only time that would happen of he got molested as a kid. Agreed. And when I took this to the judge and I accused Richard of molesting my son, the judge didn't even investigate. She didn't even try to investigate it. The only time, or even at the funeral we went and got Tristan, all was good. I know this is all killing Joshua. It is, Jamie. It is. Just the fact that he said all this stuff hurts. Jamie said, I tell Joshua that I think Tristan is survival mode, trying to survive the household he is living with. They don't want him to have anything to do with Joshua. And to keep the peace, he's doing what they ask. And Jamie says, yeah, something is not adding up. I agree, girlie. Jamie says, I think when he turns the age, he will be able to form his own opinion and see things for how they really are. Jamie says he will, when he gets 18, he will learn. That's bullshit, too. Agreed. Tristan should have been checked and charges should have been made against his grandpa. I want everybody, Jamie and Jamie, I want you both to look at Tristan now compared to when he was in the car. That's not the same Tristan that was in the car. And it's obvious that Richard did something inappropriate to Tristan. It's very obvious.
He was disappointed, and that I was a disappointment to him, that he never raised me to be like this. Because, first of all, he didn't even raise me. He was barely there.
I tried. Rebecca wouldn't let me see him.
It was my fault that he never got.
Rebecca wouldn't let me see him when it wasn't my visitation. At all. Like, there was times during a Wednesday, a Tuesday, a Thursday, a Monday, a Friday. I asked if I can pick him up early. No. Can I take him out for ice cream? No. Can I pick him up after school and bring him home? No. Can I see him for an hour at the park? No. Can I talk to him on the phone? No. She wouldn't let me talk to him, look at him, see him, spend time with him when it wasn't my visitation. She would not let me near him. She said, only on your visitation.
Custody of him because I was never nice enough or anything like that. And the worst thing is he could never even respect me after that, because he kept being a jerk to me about it, kept questioning me about it, kept asking me why.
I didn't understand it.
Any chance with.
I gave him plenty of chances to explain it. I gave him plenty of chances to explain it. I didn't understand. And I was disappointed. I am disappointed. I love him. That will never change. But I'm disappointed in his choices. And he's making choices that is it's very destructive to himself, to his relationship with me, and I've done nothing to him, to anybody.
Explain myself, and because first off, I love this person, and second of all, my sexuality is something I found out. No one raised me to be like this. I am who I
Here's the
made
part
myself to
that
be.
tears me up.
And I'm 16, almost 17.
No, not
So,
this.
and it's my choice. And if I want to stop seeing him, I can stop
No,
seeing him.
That hurts, but
because
not
to
this.
be honest, I need to.
I need to. That hurts, but not
And
this.
that's the truth behind it. Any viewers of Joshua or anything, you need to watch this now.
Ouch. That was funny.
Learn the truth.
I just bumped myself on the fucking head. That's embarrassing. Okay. So yeah, that was embarrassing. I bonked myself on the head. Jamie says Joshua even tried to invite him to the state fair this weekend. It's not like Joshua isn't trying. Even after all this, Joshua is still trying. I am. He's probably... I don't know. With all that being said, everybody, I want everybody to understand that I will be posting a part 2 to my blog. I'll probably just add a part 2 down here underneath the letter. But I had to do a response to this. I need everybody to understand that there are 2 sides to this. There are 3 sides. There's his truth, my truth, and the truth. And I am speaking nothing but truth. This is not a joke. This is nothing to lie about. This is nothing to goof around about. This is nothing to ignore. This is something that has to be talked about. This is something that needs to be reacted to. He's making some very destructive word choices about his own father, a man that helped create life. And yeah, I failed as a father. I hurt myself. That's where I failed. Had I never cut my wrist and told everybody I wanted to die because I didn't want to live life without my child. Had I not done that, I probably still wouldn't have my child because I don't have boobs. The courts value boobs. They don't value dudes. I'm still laughing because I bonked my head on the mic, but I'm going to end it like this. I think we're pretty far into the live, so I'm going to get off here. I hope everybody understands that as a father, I have literally done... I want everybody to know that as a father, I have literally done the best that I can to be the father, the husband that I need to be for my child and my wife, and be a good boyfriend to my girlfriends when I have one. If I have a girlfriend, I do my best. I've always done my best with the best that I had, with the best that I could, with what I had. But I want everybody to understand about the psychological destructive, how psychologically destructive that is for a man to even think that he'll never be good enough. He'll never be a good enough boyfriend. He'll never be a good enough husband. He'll never be a good enough father. He'll never be a good enough uncle. He'll never be a good enough employee. Just think about how destructive that is on a person's psyche, in their life, in their relationships, in their employment. Just think about how destructive that really is, and how hard that would be. So, I appreciate it, Jamie. Jamie is always telling me how I'm good to her, but you know women. They always find a way to think. They exaggerate that things are bad when they're not, when they're mad, so I know. Alright, everybody, I'm going to get off here. Thank you for following me on this journey. Hopefully y'all will like this stream. Hope y'all will send me some or subscribe, or I'm kind of new to the Twitch thing, so but hopefully y'all enjoyed it. I'm going to upload this on YouTube. Everybody have a good day.